Welcome to the Old Mac Gang Podcast, or OMG, a vodcast with a panel of longtime, seasoned Mac Apple users who discuss the most relevant apps and services for age-seasoned users. I'm Marty, an Apple enthusiast and podcaster. I'm a 67-year-old age-seasoned user who's gathered a great group of friends to talk about Apple and how it applies to folks our age and what kind of things we can do with it. Today's topic is using technology for doing home inventories. This is an area that Charlie suggested, and we lost Charlie. Is Charlie with us?
I don't know if he turned his camera off as well as his mic.
Yeah, he's muted. But it's something, we'll see if he comes back. There he is. So, it's a suggestion Charlie came up with in terms of home inventory. It's something I haven't done, and looking at the show notes, it looks like there's a lot of ideas in here, so I think you will enjoy the show in terms of the different ideas that people have. So let's introduce ourselves and be a little brief, and let's see who's here with us tonight.
Hi, I'm Peter. I'm a 72-year-old age-seasoned Apple enthusiast from Bay Village, Ohio. The older I get, the more current I am on my Apple products. Got new iPhone and AirPods on Friday, and I have a current iPad and MacBook Pro. The only thing that's getting long in the tooth is my Apple Watch. I like to learn about all of these, and I love to share what I learn with others, and especially this old Mac gang and our listeners. Chris.
Hey, I'm Chris. I'm a 78-year-old retiree in Tucson, Arizona. Been around the Mac since 1984. Worked for Apple for a while, did a bunch with the Apple user groups, and did some university IT, and now I'm happily retired and playing with all of my Apple toys. I am actually, truth be known, going to the Apple store tomorrow to check out the new watches, so we'll see how that turns out.
Hi, I'm Bob, and I'm also in Tucson, Arizona. I've been using Macs since 79, I think it is, and Mac Classic and System 7 is where I started. I've been a long time Mac user group member and officer, both here in Arizona and before that in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Charlie?
I'm Charlie Lindahl. I'm in Spring, Texas, which is North Houston. And I have been using Macs since they first came out. And I'm proud to say that I introduced Macs to Texas Instruments early on when I was working for Defense Systems. And I've stayed up to date as far as the technology, but right now I'm using an iPhone 16 Pro, and I also have a MacBook Pro M1, which I may be upgrading soon.
All right. I know some of you have alluded to upgrading or getting new tech. I got a bunch of different tech. I'm not going to go deeply into it, but I'll tell you one thing that I got that I am really loving is the iPhone Air. I am surprised. Not surprised. I'm pleased. I also have a 17 Pro Max, and it sits in the cradle. My walk-around phone is the iPhone Air because I'm not doing a lot of photography. And for that reason, I just really like the lightness of the Air. And, being able to keep it in my pocket and not feeling, and when you pick up the other one, when you pick up the Pro Max, it's like picking up a cinder block compared to it. I know there's maybe not that much weight difference, but it sure feels like it. It feels clunky. And so I have to guilt myself into spending more time with the Pro Max, but man, my Air is my take-around phone right now. Any other surprises from the group? We'll get into the topic in a minute. But yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Marty, within 45 seconds of seeing the iPhone Air, I knew it was for you.
How is that? How is that, Chris?
I know you
You mean
too
it was a
well.
match? It was a match made in heaven.
Well, maybe designed in Cupertino. I can say that much.
Any other comments, folks? Yeah, Peter.
The thing that's been most delightful for me is the AirPods. I mean, I have to say, from the moment I popped them in and got the right size, uh, the noise cancellation, knockout, the transparency, better than ever, and the way it switches between them, delightful. So they're just wonderful to wear, and I remark on it every day. I know it hasn't been that many days, but every day.
Yeah, I have got to use those more too. I'd like to. I put them in. The fit is great, but I just have been home. I'm working from home, and I just don't put them in as much as I could. I need to get on a plane, is what it is, and that'll be the true test for me. Any other comments before we get into the topic tonight? Okay, well let's get into the topic, and the topic is about using technology for doing home inventories. I have not done a home inventory, and so I come to the table guilty as charged. I guess it's important for things like insurance claims, estate planning, or moving. I think most of my material possessions disappear when I move. I haven't moved in 25 years, so they're all still here. But when we moved for various jobs that I took, or my wife's job, generally it was my job 25 years ago, where we were moving back and beyond that. Every move was an opportunity for us to get rid of stuff. And that was the big part. Now stuff is accumulated. And so I guess I need to start inventorying this and getting this material together. In the show notes, we'll have some dedicated apps that are used for this purpose for creating inventory. We also have some, I think, pretty remarkable websites that, if you're interested in looking at these different websites, they will also be in the show notes. So how to create a home inventory. This comes from the Insurance Information Institute, and it's got some great easy ways to start and get moving with the process. And then there is a document to ensure you. This comes from FEMA, which explains how homeowners and renters can insure, and making sure that policies cover information as part of your home inventory. Why you should do a home inventory. This comes from Consumer Reports. And, again, these will be available. How to get started, using apps for the job. This one I thought also was good, from Simple Insights. And it was State Farm that put this together, but how to create a home inventory, why you need it, and ways to create it. Some of them which we'll talk about, of course, on this show tonight. And this is a review. This comes from NerdWallet. It's kind of the best home inventory apps and templates that are out there that you can find. And it's their recommendations. We have one that I know Charlie's going to talk about tonight on the show. And I have that app to kind of show that we can, if we want to look at it. But let's go ahead and start. There'll be other pieces of information in the show notes. So take a look at the written stuff that we have in the show notes of both the video and also the audio. So the video portion will have it in the show notes on YouTube, and then the podcast will also have it. So the first question for the panel, and it goes to Charlie first, is what is the biggest challenge you found in starting a home inventory?
Well, the biggest challenge is getting started. And I have done some estate planning, so I have some of the stuff like documents and so forth. But having everything in one place on one app is not something that I've done. And I particularly recommend, and it's in the show notes. What's the name of it called? Under My Roof, I
Under
think.
My Roof. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an iOS and Mac OS X app only, and it is really beautiful. And if you look at do you have the page, Marty, that has the videos and stuff on it? I sent it to you separately.
I don't. I didn't get, or I didn't find that, or didn't see it come in.
Oh,
But I do have the.
okay.
I'm
Well,
showing the homepage for the app.
yeah. Okay. Well, let me just mention, if you go to the website, there's a whole set of screenshots. A couple of things that are true for this one, and this looks like it's beautiful, is you can take pictures of on the inventory. So you take pictures of individual devices, and it tries to use AI intelligence to recognize what the object is: table, chair, refrigerator, what have you. May or may not be good at that, but the point is you can do things just by taking pictures, and you can also take a picture of the barcode or QR code for the device, and it automatically goes out and finds it and generates it. The other thing that's great is for documents such as receipts and so forth, and also important documents like wills and insurance and all that kind of stuff. Um, you need to look at the website. It's really great. I'm going to be buying it. I think there's a yearly charge of, I don't know, $35 or something like that
$35.
for the
Yeah.
year, and it looks really fantastic, and it kind of prompted me to get going on this stuff. So anyway, I highly recommend looking at that and looking at the characteristics of that, and whether you buy the app or not. Just looking at the characteristics, things that it does will let you evaluate other tools that you may want to use or templates.
Yeah, you can get it for free. I actually went to load it and realized apparently I had it at one time, and I don't know. I don't think I'm under subscription anymore. But you can get it for free, and you can load 10 items. So you can play around with it a little bit to see if it's for you. There is a monthly charge of $4.99 if you want to try it for a month, or if you want the yearly subscription for $35. So you might be better off trying it for a month or two and see what it does, and then commit to the full yearly subscription, or at least trying to look through the app with the free version, which you can run, but is again limited to 10 items. So that's a very cool find, Charlie. Thanks for bringing that. Next, we go to Bob. We go to Peter. I'm sorry.
Well, I agree with Charlie. Getting started is the hard part. Now, my idea of home inventory is probably a little different, and it's not that I'm a Zen master, that I'm interested in the present, but I'm not really concerned with insurance or anything like that. I don't worry about that. I have a ton of books. I have a ton of music, CDs, vinyl, cassettes. I have a ton of videos, and that's all the different formats. And the thing that holds me back is having the software that suits me, and I guess rapid data entry would be the key. I have seen people at library book sales just scanning the copyright page of books and instantly coming up with a database tag and a value and so forth. Maybe this stuff exists out there. I wasn't retired when I noticed all that, but maybe I should go hunt for that now. But I want my inventory to do two things. One is to instantly locate that I have an item that I think that I might have, and secondly, to be able to put in a physical system of locations so that I can say where it is. I mean, all this stuff that I have does me no good if I can't put my hands on it and enjoy it. So my idea of a home inventory is to give me accessibility to the stuff I already have. And if, I may decide as I go through stuff to say, this stuff I should pitch, or sell or donate or something like that. So. but I do want to check that out with regard to. It sounds like a great program.
All right, Bob.
Well, I agree with pretty much everybody so far that the hardest part is actually doing it. I've had plans to do this photographically since before digital cameras, but it was something that's too easy to say, yeah, I want to do this, I need to do this, I should do this, but I just don't have time today. This is something that also bugs me about updating my genealogy file. So I'm interested to learn more about it and maybe actually start it.
Chris?
Well, Bob, you would mention genealogy. That's another one. Oh my. Well, but before my wife and I left the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, and moved down here 7 years ago, we had a massive purge before we moved. And so that really simplifies things a lot. But I would have to agree, it's also been on my list for decades. Um, I know as soon as FileMaker came out on the Mac back in 84, 85, immediately people at the user groups were talking home inventory. And then when I got a camera in my iPhone, like 4S, I guess, I started thinking, wow, this is really the way to go. And, still hasn't happened. What can I say? But, I think if I were to approach this today, I would probably take a different perspective in terms of what do I really want to do with it and why? In other words, because there isn't that much for insurance, right? Because it covers up to X dollars, whatever it is, and that covers most of our stuff. So we don't have a lot of really, items that we would itemize out on insurance. Maybe a few, but I do think, for the purposes of possibly giving stuff away to my kids someday, to start with iPhone shots and then have something like under my roof to collect stuff and put it together and just visually go through each room as opposed to, what's in the garage or whatever, I think that would be a more reasonable approach for me at this point.
Yeah, I tell you, and I mentioned this before, the biggest challenge for me is getting started. So there's absolutely no challenge whatsoever. If you don't get started, there's absolutely no challenge. My mother passed away 7-8 years ago, and my sister lives in the hometown where my mother was, and as a result, she kind of got left to manage the house and do a house inventory. And my mother had stacks and stacks of her history, as I like to call it, throughout the house. And most of the material objects are mainly sentimental, and they're still there because they're sentimental to my sister. And she gives some of it away to us because they're sentimental to my mother and sentimental to my sister. But the kids have various levels of sentimentality about it. They really don't have any value outside of the sentimental memories that go with it. But that also means making a decision about what to keep and what to get rid of and what part becomes now part of my inventory. I had the opportunity to have moved multiple times, as I said that, and as a result, always we move everything because we're in a rush to get wherever we're going. And when we get there, as we're unpacking things, that's when we thin things out. And that would have been a perfect time to do an inventory on materials, but we hadn't taken that. And it's been 25 years now since I moved. So things have built up and need to be inventoried so I don't have to pass the same issue on to my kids that my mother passed on to us. So my next question is, if you use a tool, what tool do you personally use? Spreadsheet, dedicated app, or just video? Charlie, back to you.
Right now I have a collection of spreadsheets, but I'm really intending to go ahead and buy this under my roof thing. It looks really good. And I also am, I have another document. We can have a separate topic on that in future podcasts. But our church has been organizing a group to try and figure out what are what's critical information for you, so that if you pass or you have a problem or you have an emergency or whatever, can you put everything in one place where somebody you designate can come in and help you find stuff. So, for example, if you get in an accident and somebody needs to know your medical information or your medications or your doctor or whatever, someone is designated, and I've already done this, someone is designated to be the person that can be contacted in case something happens. And using this home inventory thing, I can share in this particular app. One of the other features they have is you can share anybody that has an iCloud account. You can share the entire inventory with them. So I guess right now I'm saying this app is what I'm going to be using. I may do some spreadsheet stuff, but I think I'm going to go with this app.
Okay, Peter.
Yeah, I use home photos, although I think maybe video would be better after reading through some of the stuff from the insurance companies that you posted. I think that might give me a better general basis. But I also thought about it a lot. And I think with regard to what the insurance companies talked about in terms of collecting from them, I think I'm going to look into having some AI plumb my email, credit card, and banking records to identify particularly high value items. Maybe I'll give it a go with the video as well, although I don't think it's up to that task yet.
Bob?
Well, I've had lots of plans, but no action as yet. It's kind of like doing your taxes. Only taxes do have a deadline. This doesn't have a deadline. I suppose I would be most interested in an application. But one of the things I would look for is if it could output a plain text file or a CVS file for print or for future proofing. Because if you have a TXT file and 20 years from now or 30 years from now, probably something will still open it. But if you get an application like we're all thinking about, is it going to be around in 20 years or 30 years? So those are my points for planning to do it.
And Chris.
Yeah, I don't know if I can add too much. We've had some really good suggestions here. I like the idea of starting with photos. And it occurs to me, hearing you, Marty, that, my dad passed away years ago, but there is some old family stuff of his that I have, and that I really should pass on to my kids and take photos and explain what these things are, because I can do it in a conversation, but it may get forgotten. And, I'm thinking with a photo and explanation, and just make that, even if that's separate and apart, at least I know those things will, remain and not end up in a dumpster or something. I saw this similarly happen when my brother passed away, 4 years ago, and I was a little sorry about some of that stuff that I might have liked to have one or two things, but didn't work out that way. But yeah, I think under my roof and iPhone photos together, that might work for me. How about you, Marty?
Yeah, I want to comment on something Lee says in the chat room. I'm currently gathering all the family videos, including 8mm, Super 8, videotapes, slides, and such before they deteriorate further. And I'll be gathering the photos after that. The first thing you hear people lament, if there's a fire or a flood or a loss, is lamenting losing those memories. So I think Lee has some wise suggestions for us all in terms of that. And occasionally I think about that. I'll tell you, for me, I thought, well, photos might be kind of the way to go because I can just go around and snap it, throw it all in one folder, put it in the cloud, and there it goes. And in terms of, I don't have much stuff on old media that I haven't converted digitally. So that is going to be available for me, in a digital format. But I like the idea of, I probably would either just do something on a spreadsheet. I do like the idea of videoing, and I was reading the same thing Peter read, where just simply going around with a video is kind of a minimalist way of capturing everything that you have. And I think the article said that she did an attic and then a garage space and something else all in 30 minutes. And then it's like, well, it's not the best, but it's better than none. I will have to remove things from on top of things in order to do all the videoing. But probably I'd start with the tech stuff that I have, because that would give me a category to work in and what to do. Spreadsheets would be another option, but that's a lot of typing, and that's kind of the labor-intensive stuff I'd like to avoid doing. Last question for the group is, how often do you revisit your inventory? Annually, semi-annually, or just rolling updates? And we go to Charlie again.
Given that I haven't been doing it, the intent is at least once a quarter. And that's my answer. Once a quarter is what I'm intending. But it also depends on what it is I'm inventorying. Like, I don't necessarily have to do it for room by room, but documents and receipts definitely would be more often. And being able to not only back it up, but also do printouts where I have physical paper, so I don't have to worry about, finding it online. I have it physically in a notebook somewhere. That's the other thing that's important, I think, is to make sure that whatever inventory system you use, you always print things out on a regular basis and have them physically on a piece of paper, because paper does not crash. Anyway.
Yeah, I would also say get it out of your house and put it in a safety deposit box, because your house can burn and your house can flood, and things can happen to paper. And just having a copy in a safe deposit box, you can keep one at home, but have a replaceable one that you have somewhere safe off-site, like you would do with a hard drive, like when we recommend backing up. And so, Peter, to you.
Yeah, well, I looked at the last photo set I took, and it was 2019, so that's a while back. But I looked around my house, and not much has changed since then. So I don't think I would have missed much. I mean, both Anna and I got new cars. There's an espresso machine in the kitchen now. I've updated my personal tech. And most other things have been, as clothes wear out, I get new clothes, things like that. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the cadence should be. Now, Gary, who isn't here with us, gave me a workbook that I haven't tackled yet I think it's from the Funeral Consumers Alliance, of preparing to pass away. And it's got lots of questions. And I was really struck by the idea of passing on memories to different members of my family. And I think it would be good to systematically go through and say, like, to my daughter, I have a nice journal and collection of photos from a family trip we took to visit relatives in Europe. I mean, I think that's something she would really like. It doesn't take up a lot of space, and I think she would treasure. And I think I could probably come up with one or two things, for each of my relatives. And I think if I did that, I wouldn't need to worry about, how other stuff got spread out, to leave one thing of significance that is in fact significant, to respond to what Marty said. I mean, lots of things are sentimental. I mean, why do I have so much stuff? It's all sentimental, right?
Yeah, I don't fit into that T-shirt, but I still want to keep it, because it has sentimental value. And it doesn't have any meaning to anybody else but me. Peter, I want to bring up something, because I know you've done that, and using notes. Lee in the chat room says using notes. The Notes app is a great app for doing inventory. You can itemize, embed photos and videos, and importantly, add tags and hashtags to categorize. And I know tags is kind of your thing in terms of organization.
Well, it's a nice way to go through things, as after you've sort of collected your information, as you go through things, to just tag them for, that's for my nephew Ryan, that's for my niece Erin, or whoever it might be. And then, with one command, pull those together and say, oh my gosh, there's 23 things for Erin. She doesn't want 23 things. She just, 5 is plenty. What would be the best 5? I think it's a nice system. I agree with Lee.
Yeah. Bob?
Well, ideally, I would think that the time to revisit the inventory is every time you purchase something for $100 or more. And also every time you get rid of something that is in your inventory, you should probably take it out of the inventory if you're using an application like we looked at a little bit earlier. Of course, that is if I indeed do have a home inventory. Chris?
Well, I like the idea of maybe updating January 1st. I sit around with not much to do on January 1st, and that would be a good thing to take a look at, along with updating the copyright in my cameras and such. Peter pointed something out, and I hadn't thought about this, but I went through a writing phase in my life with daily pages that Julia Cameron did, and I have reams of notebooks, and probably a dozen or two, and most of that stuff is just daily hen scratching, but there is some stuff that might be worth sifting out, and that's, I think, the bottom line here is maybe separating stuff that I think is of value that my kids might want to have, that they're going to obviously have difficulty figuring out what that is and probably won't. And so, that's an idea too in this process. So I appreciate that. Marty?
So, yeah, I think Lee's joined us in the chat room again. He has some great ideas. He's like, I guess in our case, it would be the 6th Beatle. He has a couple of suggestions. The important thing to do is to remember to do it in small bites. Don't try to do it all in one time. It's too overwhelming. Set aside a half hour a week to kind of work your inventory. I think those are all wise ideas and wise decisions. I can't talk about revisiting it because I haven't visited it yet in the first place. I think if I tackle this project, it will be probably starting with my tech because I know where all that stuff is, and then moving into other aspects of the house and the larger objects. There used to be an app that Apple had that was an Apple app called Bento, which was a very simple, nice database for all of this kind of information. And then Bento kind of folded up, and the only databases that Apple have are rather expensive databases. I've looked at ProView, which Jim has done. Charlie, you got some ideas in terms of good databases? I saw your nonverbal.
Well, as far as good databases, SQLite is built into Linux, built into Unix, and it's used by Apple in OS X. Databases for messages, for the message app, and databases for the email, and that's on every single Mac.
Okay. All right.
And that also is the same database that's used on iPhones, and it's very simple, straight SQL. You don't get fancy, but it's very fast. It's mostly in memory, and it's very, very well supported. Anyway, just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. And I do like the inventory system that you had suggested in terms of it being, I think for most users, very easy to access and very easy to look at. So Under My Roof was the one that we've been talking about. I just remember Bento from a while ago and was using it for some of those purposes. Not only, I was also using it for association membership and things like that as a nice database for doing it. So if I'm going to do it, I'm probably going to do it with an app. I'll probably start just for a quick walk through my house with video and then organize things. But I thought of a really good trick we could pull on our kids or whoever we're leaving stuff behind. Do a video or don't do a video, do something like an app like Under My Roof, and put in a Lamborghini and put in like secret gold bars that you have somewhere. And they will remember you in your passing because they'll forever be searching for those items that are in your inventory but don't actually exist. So that's my suggestion. You get the last laugh on all those people who are still alive. Any other comments from the group or any other additions that you'd like to share?
Marty,
Yep.
the guy who wrote Bento was in our user group in Dallas, in the Apple Core of Dallas. I'd be darned if, of course, I can't think of his name right now. But the company was 4D, which was short for Fourth Dimension. And we worked with him a bunch. It was great. We all had, early copies and stuff. And it went very well. And then FileMaker sort of went big time. And, it got independent of Apple. And I don't know whatever happened to it. But it was great stuff. And the idea behind Bento is, the Japanese bento box, of course,
Right.
for meals and stuff that you could, that was the whole concept. But yeah, good memory.
Yeah.
I hope he's still with us wherever.
Charlie, do you have any final comments?
Just that, again, I have to cite this particular app. I think it's extremely well done, and it has, as I say, you can use it sort of as a checklist for any system that you decide you want to do, because they have all these different categories and such. And it does have AI components in it, and I'm anticipating more and more use of the AI stuff. So, for example, one other example they have is if you're doing photo stuff in this, and you have pictures of people, it'll automatically do the face recognition through Siri or whatever Apple AI is. And so there's stuff that kind of is an add-on because you're on the Mac or because you're on Apple that just gets built in, and they make use of it, and they also document it in all their stuff. So I really recommend this app.
Yeah, good. Just any other final notes? I have a couple of comments from the chat that I'd like to share, but anything else from you guys? Lee asks, what's the name of the app? It's called Under My Roof. And it's available in the Mac App Store and also in the iOS App Store. So it'll work on both platforms for you. And Lee said something that I thought was kind of sentimental. It could be spooky, but I think it's kind of sentimental. Video of yourself telling your kids who gets what and why might be interesting. So the meaning behind why you're gifting them this and why you want them to carry that on with them and what that represents to them is kind of a nice way to do that. So I'm going to say goodnight for the group. You can email us at thepodtalk.net@gmail.com if you want to suggest ideas for shows, if you want to try and join us at one time online. You can also find out all about this show and other ones that we're doing at thepodtalk.net is the website. Our next live episode will be October 1st at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube. That's youtube.com/@oldmacgang if you want to see how old this gang really is and watch the video. Join us live, or you can catch it on the replay if you missed the live show. Share it with your friends in Mac user groups. Of course, we have the podcast that you can get. I've got a couple of new podcasts that will be coming out in the next week. One is called AI Productivity AI workplace productivity. So it's meant for how do you use AI for productivity in the workplace. And then another one that I'm kind of excited to do, it is called Fade to Chat, Cinema of the Golden Age of Hollywood. So the 30s, 40s, 50s, and early 60s, which kind of fits in with our age group. If you look at all the movie shows right now, all they're doing are like 80s and 90s and current ones. And it's like we're starting off with Arsenic and Old Lace with Cary Grant. And we'll be recording that first show on Monday. And we'll eventually take it live when we can settle on a time. And of course, you have to get it out. It might be a week or two, but that's a new project that I'll be working on. You can find out information about it at thepodtalk.net. Our music bed is by Philip Gross, Marrakesh, courtesy of the Free Music Archive, part of the Creative Commons. Thanks to the group, Chris, Peter, Bob, and Charlie, and thanks for you being part of the Old Mac Gang.